Clara Luper Radio Show, and this show is being made possible by Burger Brothers, located at 412 South Harvey Street here in Oklahoma City, a place where you can buy meat for less with everyday low prices, plus weekend specials with fresh vegetables and fruits. That's all at Burger Brothers, a neighborhood store, a friendly store, all here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Yes, I'm dedicating this program to my friend Helen Grimmett, a member of the Fifth Street Baptist Church, a faithful member. And Helen Grimmett, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, remember that I love you because you are straightforward. If you like an issue, yes. If you don't like it, you stand tall and let the world know. Let the world know exactly how you feel. You know, it's too many two-faced people in the world. Some people tell you one thing, and when you notice one thing, they are telling you somebody else something else on the same issue. But when Helen Grimmett tells you something, you better write it down. The purpose of the Clara Luper Radio Show is to bring information in your homes. And I know how much we need a different kind of story. For example, I have some questions that I would like to ask today, and before then, I better correct a statement that I made on my 2 o'clock show. I told you that the NACP meeting would open tomorrow at 3:30. Now, I have the time wrong. It's 3 o'clock. The NACP meeting will start tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Evangelistic Baptist Church, Northeast 30th and Martin Luther King Avenue here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The NACP meeting, and this is probably the most important meeting that will be held this year. All of the youth are also asked to be present because this meeting concerns you directly. We read a lot and we hear a lot, but then we have to look at the issues. We have to look at the results. The NACP is the largest and strongest civil rights organization in America. It was the NACP that made it possible for you to attend colleges and universities all over this country, and especially in the South. It was the NACP's case, Ada Loy Scipio case, that made it possible. And certainly if I were a student in any integrated school, I would immediately become a member of the NACP. It doesn't cost but $3 a year, and if you're over 21, it's $10 a year. It was the NACP's case in 1955 that eliminated segregation in public transportation. And you're riding buses everywhere you want to go, and you aren't a member of the NACP? It was the NACP that integrated schools, May 17th, 1954. NACP made it possible for you to go to Midwest City, to Dale City, Putnam City, John Marshall, Northwest Classen, Douglas, and all. It was the NAACP. Because of that, I think it's only fitting that you should be a member of NACP. I don't beg young people to become members of NACP. Rather, I remind them of their responsibilities. Young people in America have a responsibility to support the organizations that have pulled them across the bridge. And the sad part about it, I had a student from a local university, namely Oklahoma University, to tell me he didn't understand what NACP was doing. I immediately told him that I didn't understand what the students down at Oklahoma University were doing. I didn't see them standing up for black deans, for black heads of departments. I don't see the young people standing up, and then I was shocked beyond repair to hear a young lady from Oklahoma University say that there was no discrimination. Then I would ask her, and I haven't had the opportunity to ask her about sorority houses. I would like to ask her about full-time professors at Oklahoma University and on. Now, I didn't say that. Somebody else did. And then I read this week that Mr. Melvin C. Hall was happy about a law that had been passed in Oklahoma making Oklahoma one of 15 states to provide penalties for racial, ethnic violence, and intimidation. I wonder if Mr. Melvin C. Hall has heard about what's happening at Tinker Field Air Base. I wonder if the state of Oklahoma is aware of the discrimination that exists. Now, if you're to be punished, or if you have penalties for racial, ethnic violence, and intimidation, the state of Oklahoma has condemned her own words. Now, all of you out there are excited about your governor, Bellman, but I want to ask you, how many judges have your governor appointed? How does Mr. Governor, the Honorable Bellman, weigh on the scales of justice? Let's weigh him and see what will show up. And if you aren't careful, you will be very disappointed. Now, I want to know more about the Oklahoma State Commission on Human Rights. Now, that commission was born because of the sit-in movement. Did you know that? Did you know that the governor of Oklahoma called a committee together of people and decided to form the Commission on Human Rights? And I've never seen Melvin C. Hall at an NAACP meeting, because it was a NAACP Youth Council that gave birth to the Oklahoma Commission on Human Rights. If it had not been for the sit-ins, you would not have had that commission. Now, I want to know, what has the commission done? That's what I want to know. And certainly, the only way you can really find out is ask the people that's involved. I noticed that the agency budget has been increased by 18%, but I would like to meet some of the people on that Commission on Human Rights. I want to meet some of the people that are aware of the fact that we can provide penalties for racial, ethnic violence and intimidation on jobs. Yet black people are being intimidated at Oklahoma Memorial Hospital, at Presbyterian Hospital, Tinkerfield, and other places. What a day. Well, I have to tell it just like I see it. So if you have any information on the State Commission on Human Rights, let me know. For years, the NAACP has worked to help blacks, to put them in positions where they can move ahead. But the greatest tragedy that I know of in this country is that the people that have gotten positions because of NAACP's influence will not be caught attending an NAACP meeting. Now, I have never seen the judges at NAACP meetings, and I know that the judges realize quite vividly what a struggle it was to get black judges in the state of Oklahoma. I know the judges remember the marches for judges, for people that would work in the mayor's office, in the city manager's office. Nor have I seen people from the city manager, not even the city manager himself, who has been brought to this city and who lives on the other side of town because of those marches led by E. Melvin Porter, Cecil L. Williams, Clara, Luper, Dr. Dow, and others that marched into the northwest part of Oklahoma City on those cold days to make it possible. Now, I haven't seen City Manager Chitters at an NAACP meeting. Now, does he come to the NAACP meeting, or would that be below his dignity as a city manager? I haven't seen the head of the garbage department and working out on the northwest side. I haven't seen him at an NAACP meeting. I guess he has forgotten those marching days, marching for better jobs and opportunities for those that were in the garbage department or the sanitations department. It was the NAACP. Now, the NAACP is having a meeting tomorrow. That meeting will be at 3 o'clock at the Evangelistic Baptist Church, and I want to see how many of our black executives will be present. I know that we have blacks that are working down to the Board of Education, and they just didn't get there because of their educational qualifications, but they got there because blacks petitioned. They are there because Dr. Dow went to court, and with the wrecking of the transfer system, opened it up in order that there could be a Betty Mason as the assistant superintendent of schools, where there could be an personnel manager. But where are those personnel managers, those superintendents, when it comes to an NAACP meeting? I think it's a disgrace, And I would like to go a step further. There are black principals in Oklahoma City who would never have been principals if it had not been for the NACP. Now, you can walk around and talk about assertive action and assertive discipline, but where are the assertive actions of the black people that are reaping the benefits of NACP? Now, I want you to think about that. The tragedy of NACP is that the people that will never march up in these large jobs, people like Mr. and Mrs. Diggs, who didn't have the opportunity to even eat in a restaurant, Mr. Bingham and others, these are the people that have opened the doors for people. And since the doors have been opened and people have entered in, they refuse to come back and say thank you. Well, there's a story that I read in the Bible about 10 men that had leprosy. Jesus healed them, and only one came back to say thanks. But how many principals, how many assistant black principals, how many judges, how many have taken time out to come back and say thanks? And they should be the leaders in the NACP. Oh, afraid to stand up? Well, stand up anyway if you are afraid, because the white American resistance has issued, and I've gotten this from the northwest side of Oklahoma City. They are passing out handbills, and I would like to read a part of this to you. It says, "A challenge to white people. Are you tired of affirmative action that discriminates against whites in hiring, promotion, in admissions to colleges, university, or graduate schools? Are you tired of a non-white crime wave which makes our own cities unsafe for our families? Are you tired of forced integration of our schools, causing white families to leave our largest cities which are then taken over one by a large number of non-whites? Are you tired? Are you tired? If so, join thousands of your white kinsmen who are looking out for white interests. Write to the White American Resistance, and I'm not going to give you the address, but it's in San Francisco, California. Or you can call them, and they leave a telephone number. I will give you the telephone number, 415-626-4458. Now, while some of you blacks are shuffling and grinning and think you are safe out in the white community, they are asking whites to join the White American Resistance. Now, I'm asking whites and blacks that believe in freedom, job opportunities, that believe in promotions, that believe that every man should be treated equally, that believe in the Declaration of Independence, that believe in the Constitution of the United States, and especially the 14th Amendment. I ask you to come to NACP meeting tomorrow, and that's the 30th, Northeast 30th, and Martin Luther King Avenue. Now, we don't have enough white people that are involved in the NACP, and I cannot understand it. White people in America during the days of Martin Luther King marched because the lights were on, the television lights. Now the lights are off, and white people are having a difficult time finding their way to the northeast side of Oklahoma City. Now, if the white community were really interested in carrying the message of Jesus, why couldn't they spend some of the thousands of dollars that they are sending across the sea? Why couldn't they do that in order to help the people that are victims of a criminal system known as segregation and discrimination? This is the Clara Luper radio show, and the purpose of this show is to inform you. Clara Luper. Hello?
Hello, Ms. Luper?
Yes.
How are you doing?
Reverend Parker, I'm doing fine because I've just told the white people in Oklahoma City that they need to put some money in the black community. Now, they are so interested in spreading the gospel. What would happen if some of these white, rich, aristocratic churches, in place of sending all of their money for foreign mission, would distribute some to the black churches? Wouldn't that be a day?
Yes, it would be, and of course, you know, Southern Baptist does spend money with the National Baptist churches in particular, and they've been doing this for the last 25, 30, or 40 years. They've spent, for instance, something like $30,000 or $40,000 down there at our Camp Burgess. So they have spent some money
They
in our
spend a
city.
little, but that's chicken feed.
Yeah, well,
They have the resources to come in this community and to really help. I cannot understand it, Reverend Parker. They have the resources. Now, they sold churches to black people. In place of selling those churches, they should have given those churches to black people if they were going to leave. Well, anyway, I've gotten it out, and now my white friends are really upset with me, and I'll get some more mail from them. But I'm upset with you, so when Clara Luper, who's black, is upset with white folks that's white, then you know that both of us are upset, and you white folks can do something about it. You can certainly help to spread the gospel by supporting and by coming over. It's no harm for you to come over and join some black churches. That's integration. Well, Reverend Parker, what's going on at your church?
Well, Clara, we are having Sunday worship services as usual, but our special program is a musical that we are holding tomorrow night at 6:30. Brother Glenn Burley from Houston is a music major. He is a very accomplished music writer. He writes all of his own songs, and he's conducted a workshop at our church for this past week, and I suppose 5 or 6, maybe 8 churches have participated in the workshop, and it always ends in a musical at the end of the workshop. It'll be something to hear and to see. We are inviting the public to come, but I tell you, unless you come early, there won't be any seats left, because we had more people than we could seat the last time he was here.
Okay, now this is a Glenn Burley from Garrisburg, Oklahoma, who was formerly at the Fifth Street Baptist Church and then went up to Omaha, Nebraska.
That's
this is
right.
a Glenn Burley.
You've got him.
All right, now, I haven't, that meeting will be, you haven't told me where, what church, and address.
It's at the Loving St. James Baptist Church, 12,600 Parker Boulevard. That's 2 blocks off 36th Street on Adair.
Why do you call it the Loving St. James Baptist Church?
Because that's our top priority. I'm not saying that we have arrived by any stretch of the imagination, but that is our goal. We want to be a loving church. We want to be known not for our greatness, but for our love.
Okay, you have a loving church. Now, how is this love expressed?
Well, it's expressed by reaching out to people in the community. For instance, we have a clothes closet that we distribute clothing to people all over Oklahoma City, Spencer, Nakoma Park, Midwest City, and so forth. Mrs. Nero is the chairman of that committee, and she just loves to distribute clothes. We have one of the foremost food closets in the Oklahoma City
Now, don't take me too fast. You're saying you have a clothes closet that's headed by whom?
Mrs. Nero.
All right, and you have a food what?
We have a food closet. We have a food closet that we contribute to. We have both a local food closet, and then we have a closet that we get money from the federal government. We spend about $7,500 of the federal government's money, but then our church gives much more than that in foods to people every year.
I don't understand that program. How does it operate?
Well, it operates, we have 12 units in our church, and each one of these units have unit leaders, and they contribute by rotation to the food closet, and we build up a cash reserve while we're spending the government's money, so that when it runs out, we can continue to feed people through the winter months.
How do you go about feeding people? How can you find out who's actually hungry?
Well, people will find you if they are hungry. We have people that come to us predominantly from our area in Spencer and Choctaw and Midwest City. But we have people that come to us from all over for food. And it's never been our policy to say no if at all possible. I have an interesting story about a man named Otis Delsey. He came to our church about 10 years ago, and he just didn't care very much about church, but he fell in love with the church, and he loves the Lord. He killed a cow that weighed about 1,000 pounds and gave half of it to the church to feed the poor. I thought that was
Oh, wait a
outstanding.
minute. Wait a minute. Now, that's too fascinating. You mean to tell me he killed a whole cow and gave half of it to the church?
He certainly did. Had it cut up, frozen, and then delivered it to the church.
And then the church gave it to people that needed some good steaks.
Yes.
That's commendable. Tell me more stories. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is being brought to you by Clara Luper, the author of Behold the Walls. Those of you that are interested in purchasing a book, why don't you call me 424-3949. Every time you purchase a book, you help me to stay on KBYE radio here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm talking to Reverend W.B. Parker, the pastor of the loving St. James Baptist Church located in Spencer, Oklahoma. Reverend Parker, you're telling me about your church program. You told me that you have a clothes closet, a food closet. What else do you have out to St. James?
Well, let me tell you about the NAACP. Our church is an avid supporter of the NAACP. Most of our adults are members of the NAACP.
Now, just a minute, Reverend Parker. Are you telling me that most of the adults in your church are members of the NAACP?
That's what I'm telling you.
What did you do to them? How did you inspire most of the adults to be members of the NAACP?
We simply set up a desk in our fellowship hall, and during the period when we are having membership drive, we announce that we are taking membership in the fellowship hall. And we just sort of steer them in that direction and insist that they go by and take out a membership.
Are you saying that you allow people in your church to get up and announce about the membership drive?
Well, certainly. I'll tell you another thing we did.
Okay.
The seniors, we had I believe we had 12 seniors in our church that graduated this year. And I announced to the seniors that their graduation present from me would be an NAACP membership. And all of them, of course, have memberships because that's their graduation present.
All right, now you're telling me you have NAACP membership program as part of your church's, I won't call it a curriculum, but I do not have a better program. Tell me, do you have a missionary society? Do you have choirs? How many choirs do you have? What do you have?
Yes, we have a missionary society. We do have choirs. We have 3 choirs. We have a children's choir with about 30 children in it. Ought to be 100 because there are many children that are roaming streets every Sunday, and we witness to them every Saturday morning. Then we have a young adult choir, and we have a senior choir.
You have 3 choirs.
Mm-hmm.
About how many members do you have in each one of these choirs? About 7?
No, I don't know the exact number, but I would think that the adult choir and the young adult choir have about 35 each, and about 30 in the children's choir. We have a men's chorus also. Our men's chorus is very well known over Oklahoma City.
I should say so.
For both white and black, and they are a very popular group, and they are a Christian group of men.
Well, who directs that choir?
Our Cornelius Anderson and Wynn Parker.
Directs that men's chorus?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've heard them, and they're just wonderful. Are they singing tomorrow night?
No, they are not singing tomorrow night.
Okay, well, the next time that men's choir have a concert, be sure and let me know.
I certainly will.
All right, now let's go on and talk about the programs in your church. Now, you have an NAACP supported program. Do you support the CCL?
Yes, we do. Our church is a member of the CCL. By the way, the membership for organization like churches, sororities, and so forth is $25 per year, and for individuals it's $5 per year. Our church is a current member.
All right, tell me more about the loving St. James Baptist Church and your programs.
Well, we just try to be that. We try to be to people what God would have us be. I feel that we get as many calls for help as any church in the community, and our business is not to try to find reason why not to help, but to find reason why we can help. We have a budget of about $184,000
Not just a
per
minute,
year.
Reverend. Just a minute, Reverend Parker. I know you live out in the Dungy area, and you're telling me that you have a budget of what?
$184,000 per year.
Are you able to meet that budget every year?
We certainly are. We are going to meet it this year. Let me tell you what the budget was the year before I came. It was I believe it was $3,000, and they raised $2,900.
Okay, now the budget before you came, how long has that been?
That's been 25 years.
25 years ago, you had a budget of what?
Of $3,000.
And today you have a budget of what?
$184,000.
How many members did you have when you came?
I would guess that it was about 75.
You
maybe
have 75 members. How many do you have now?
We have approximately 800 on the roll.
Okay,
Don't
now
ask me to find.
Okay, now Reverend Parker, are you telling my radio audience that that church has grown from 75 members to 800, from a $2,500 or $3,000 budget to a $180-some thousand budget?
Yes, that's right. The Lord has been good to us.
Well, the Lord's been good to a lot of churches, but I haven't seen them grow like that. You even have a gymnasium out there, don't you?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And there are about 12 churches that enroll in a basketball league every year, and they'll begin playing games every Saturday within a few weeks and play throughout the winter. And hundreds of boys, instead of being out on the streets up there in the gym each night.
Are they supervised?
Just a minute. Reverend Johnson is at the door. I'm here at the mission. Would you hold just a minute?
Okay. In the meantime, this is a Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is being brought to you by...
I'm back.
Okay, this is the Clara Luper radio show, and this portion of our show is being brought to you by Rose's Restaurant. Rose's Restaurant is located at 217 Northwest 23rd Street here in Oklahoma City. It is a restaurant where you can get soul food, and if you really want to become a great basketball player, a football player, if you want to have strength, go get you some soul food at Rose's Restaurant here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Reverend Park, I have two more questions to ask you. Question number one, are you supporting the NACP meeting tomorrow?
Yes, we are. We have a very busy, heavy schedule tomorrow, but I'm going to emphasize to our membership that we want to be there at 3 o'clock, and we will be there.
You will be at the Evangelistic Baptist Church at 3 o'clock.
That is right.
Now, I was told by Mr. Eddie Stamps. Now, I want you to write that name down. Eddie Stamps told me that Reverend W.K. Jackson would be the guest speaker tomorrow. And I'm sure that if Reverend Jackson doesn't speak, Eddie Stamps will have to speak himself, because it was Eddie Stamps that told us that Reverend W.K. Jackson would be the guest speaker tomorrow.
I just talked to President Porter about 10 minutes ago, and he said he has not been able to ascertain who it is that's going to speak, but he could promise that an outstanding minister will be speaking.
Well, that is really great. I wouldn't miss the NACP meeting for nothing. I'd rather miss meals than miss NACP. Reverend Park, it certainly has been a pleasure talking to you today. And I would like to once again tell my radio audience that you have told me that when you became pastor at church, you had a budget of $3,000 and raised $2,900. You told me you had about 25 members, and today you stand with about 800 members on the road and a budget of $184,000. You told me today that you have programs in your church like a clothes closet, a food closet. Thank God for you. And I would like to remind our radio audience that it took more than prayer to do that. It took a lot of hard work, and thanks for mixing it together.
Well, thank you for letting me come on your show.
Okay, then. Bye-bye. This is a Clara Luper radio show, and Reverend Parker has told you what he has done. I wonder about some of the other churches and their programs. What's your church program? Feel free to call and tell me. My telephone number out here is 478-2103. And if you have an announcement, I don't want you fussing with me this week. If you have an announcement that you would like to make, I want you to call me at 478-2103, and I will allow you to make that announcement. Time has a way of marching on, and certainly those of us at KBYE are very happy that we're about to see another November. Those of you that have been with us through the years, you know, during the months of November and December, we go down with the sun. The sun goes down early, and we go down early. So starting in November, KBYE will be going off of the air every Saturday at 5:30. But I will be with you at exactly 2 p.m., and you cannot afford to miss the 2 p.m. radio show. Don't miss me from 2 to 3 during the next months. I would like to congratulate Mrs. M.L., the former Mrs. M.L. Vickers, who got married. Now, and that's what I've been telling all you out in radio land. A lot of you need to really get married. Now, Mrs. M.L. Vickers is now Mrs. Piggy. She married her high school sweetheart. Can you imagine? She went down in Arkansas, the land of opportunity, took advantage of the opportunity, and married Mr. Piggy. Now, those of you that's in Gelt City and the Gelt Center and McGuire Plaza, what I would like for you to do for me during the Christmas holidays or during the next 2 months is to have a triple wedding over there. Wouldn't that be excited? Now, some of you just sit around over there and complain. Why don't you and some of those handsome men, young ladies over there, why don't you all get married, throw a big triple wedding, and we will really have a ball. Can't you hear that song, Here Comes the Bride, and 3 brides walk down there? And you men over there, you are able to support a wife. Get up off of that bank account and go on and get you a good one, because you're going to need one. The Clara Luper radio show would like to announce that the Economy Bingo House will be opening real soon again, and you will be very, very, very proud. Marilyn Hildred, your Allstate insurance agent, would like for you to visit her office. Her office is located at 9228 North May Avenue. Her telephone number is 848-7470, and she will answer all of your insurance needs. Congratulations to those of you that won football games this weekend, and congratulations to those of you that have lost games. As we look at the Oklahoma City school system, in our school system, we have to ask some questions. Question number 1, can you tell me where I can attend a great operetta? I remember the days that we used to have operettas in our school system, and we were really preparing our kids for the real world. The real world must consist of more than books, just books, books, books. We've got to have some great songs that must be written. We have to have some speakers. And tell me, what high school can I go to now and see a good play, a high school play? If we don't have a high school play, then we aren't preparing people for the real world, and the real world is a world where people participate. In the next few years, our young people will be out, or we preparing them in the arts. How many of the school systems have invited one of the greatest composers of all time that live in Oklahoma City, the lovely Evelyn Pittman, into the schoolroom to explain the advantage of the arts? Well, we got to do it. I am really interested in performing arts. And I know you are too, but we cannot get into performing arts until we can get some performing students. And we can't get any performing students until we get some teachers that will produce some operettas, some operas, some plays, and some other things that will enrich our children. It would be a tragedy if the young people that are leaving the Oklahoma City school system will not know how to do anything but read, write, and arithmetic. It's more to it than that. Clara Luper's radio show, KBYE Radio in Oklahoma City, and a special hello to all of the young men out to El Reno. I had the opportunity to be out there this morning, and I certainly was educated in some correctional activities that are going on in our school, in our prisons. Now, I want to tell all of you young men out in Radio Land that Chaplain Mills explained to me this morning that by 1995, we will have at least 37 more federal prisons. We already have 47 or nearly 50. Now that means that they are building these prisons for someone. Wouldn't it be something if you young men out in Radio Land would wake up to the fact that you don't have to go to prison, you don't have to steal, you don't have to use drugs, you don't have to cheat, and the federal government would be stuck with all of those emptied prisoners? Wouldn't that be something? And I think it could be done. For months I've asked you to look at your hands, your black hands, your white hands, your red hands, and say with me, with these hands I shall not steal. With these hands I shall not use drugs, because I realize that drugs represent an enemy that's worse than the worst enemy that we have ever fought in a war. I wish you young people would do it and leave the federal government hanging with some new prisons with nobody in them, and they would have to close the prison. Can you imagine our building 37 more federal prisons, looking forward to young people going to prison? Well, one thing that the government could do is to put that money in some educational preventive programs and in some programs that will help young people rather than preparing for them to go to prison. Well, I know the young people that are listening to me are smart enough to say to the United States government, don't build a prison for me. Don't build it for me, because I am not going to become involved in any crime that will place me in prison. I think that would be great, and if you can remember that thought from today's radio program, it's all been worth it. But I would like to let you know that Mrs. Portwood Williams, Mrs. Lucille Williams, lost her brother, Mr. Akers, in San Jose, California this week. Mr. Portwood Williams and other members of the family went out to California. And I would like to extend my sympathy to the entire family, a beautiful family. Many of you will remember Mr. Akers because he always came back to Langston University as part of that California crowd that always come to homecoming. I've been looking forward to hearing from my ace reporter from Langston University giving me a football report. He promised me that we were going to win some games, but we have not won any games out at Langston University. And this is his second year. We cannot continue to just look and say we can't do it. We've got to have somebody out to Langston University that can bring not only some victories, but some dignity. What are you doing tonight? To be sure you are watching your children, because this is Halloween and one of the most dangerous nights of the year. And I want you to be very careful tonight. And I want you to walk carefully, and I want you to act carefully. Don't do anything that you'll be ashamed of tomorrow. It has been quite a pleasure to be with you. And certainly it's been quite a pleasure for me to be part of the Woods Neighborhood Club. And today we found that one of our members, Mr. Clifton Taylor, died last night at Baptist Hospital. Mr. Taylor was more than a neighbor. He was a friend and did everything that he could to make our neighborhood a better place in which to live. Whatever was needed, he was there to do it. And as a part of the Woods Neighborhood Club, when he was not able to attend meetings, his dues were always there. Now today we extend our sympathy to his lovely wife. And can you imagine, for 49 years they have been lovers. They have been lovers. Mr. Taylor took care of the needs of his beautiful wife. He loved her with a passion. And during the days that he has been ill, she stood there by him. And certainly from the Clara Luper radio show, there are some things that we know. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I do not know who will be the next on the road. I don't know what the future holds for all of us. But there are just some things that I know. Let me sum it up, and there's one thing that I know. And to Mrs. Taylor today, who is grieved because of the loss of her dear husband, and who for 49 years they have walked together. I would like for you to know, Mrs. Taylor, that you will never walk alone. You will never walk alone. On Wednesday at 11 o'clock at the Great Oak Cleves CME Church, a city will say goodbye to Mr. Taylor. The Woods Neighborhood Club stands ready under the leadership of Mr. Riley to minister to the needs of the family. Now, I don't know how you feel, but I know that you will never walk alone.